The following is an interview conducted by UTRGV Radio with Hidalgo County Judge candidate Eloy Pulido. UTRGV Radio is anticipating interviewing all three candidates for the Hidalgo County Judge position. UTRGV Radio will soon interview Richard Cortez and Jane Cross to ensure fairness in the interviewing process. Okay, so I'm Nathaniel Puente. I am here on UTRGV Radio, and today we are joined by a well-esteemed man, a very experienced man. This is Eloy Pulido. How are you doing today, sir?
Well, I'm doing great, Nate. Thank you. It's an awesome day.
Awesome. This is not just any social call. You are here running for Hidalgo County Judge, correct?
And that's correct, Nate, yes.
And you were last judge in 2003, and we sit here in 2018. Why are you deciding to run again?
Well, Nate, actually, to me, it's I first got elected county judge back in '98 and served from 1999 to '03, and those were probably 4 of my best years in life, and more because of. I'm a social worker. By the way, I got a degree from this university, and I have a bachelor's in social work. And when you're a social worker, it's about helping people. So to me, I remember when I first ran for school board here in Edinburgh, it was to me the importance was how could I as a social worker help people in the most capacity. And back then, I remember because I was working at PSJ ISD as a risk manager, and so to me it was school. PSJ had social workers in their on staff, and so I met Delma Singletary that I think retired some years ago, but Delma was a social worker, and I was just so impressed that when I served on the school board, that's one of the first things we did was we employed social workers to work with the kids. You know, it's very difficult when you're dealing with the kids at the schools, and because there's all kinds of social issues that affect the learning process. We start talking about the drugs, alcohol, family environment, single parent households. But then you work with them when they're in school, but then they go back to the same environment. So I loved the fact that I was able to help, as a policy decision maker on the school board. That after that I ran for county clerk. But then when I was elected county judge, it gave me, I won't say sole authority, but it gave me quite a bit of authority to be able to help people even more. So that's part of the reason. When you help people that are homeless, when you're able to pick up the phone and call the housing authority and say, I have a family that's living in a car, and I need for them to have a house or have a stable living environment, and be able to pull the strings to get that done, there's nothing better than that. So same thing when we had when we have a freeze, and you've got people that are struggling, and as a county judge, or a flood, for instance, or we have a hurricane, coming down the Gulf of Mexico, and I am able to empower people, to help people. That you can't beat it. That's got to be, for me, the best feeling that I can experience. So that was probably the main reason why I decided to run again.
What have you learned since then, and how do you look to improve upon your last term?
Well, something that needs a lot of improvement. Actually, there's 2 areas. One is in the areas of taxation, where people we have 300 to 350 families that are taxed out of their homes every year. So we're talking about children. We're talking about whole families that can no longer afford their house simply because of a tax foreclosure. And of course, people say, well, the tax rate hasn't gone up, but the appraisals continue going up, where to the point where people will never own their own homes, because you're always going to have that tax liability and that tax payment. My just to put it in comparison, my taxes on my house are more than my mortgage payment. So whenever I finish paying my house, guess what? I'm going to keep paying taxes, and so that house will never really be mine or ours, because it's my wife and I. So we need to do something about that, and I think that there's ways to go about it, and we're definitely going to follow our plan to be able to reduce that taxation, where at least people are not going to be losing their homes because of it. So,
if elected, what are your first plans?
well, the first plans is really to cut down on the operational budget of the county that I believe has spiraled out of control over the last 15 years. And it's very, very easy to point out, because the last year that I served, my budget was $67.8 million. This year's past budget was $208 million. So we're looking at about 3.5%, 3.5 times as much that it costs to run the county today than what it did 15, 18 years ago. So I think that we can, there can be some cuts, and maybe get some of that tax money returned to the taxpayers, or redirected. But definitely, I think that would be one of the first things that I would like to do. And of course, it's in conjunction with working with the county commissioners. But I think that my leadership style is one that I like to be inclusive. It's never about me. It's about what can we do together to accomplish this goal. And I think that leadership style is more acceptable to a lot of people, because, like I've my dad always used to tell me, he said, son, when somebody doesn't want to go along with a plan, he said, just make it their idea. Let it be their idea, and you bring them on board. So I think that style works as well. So,
can you give me the main difference between you and your opponents?
Personality. I'm a friendly type of person. I like to consider myself being at the same level with everyone, regardless of. And to me, the richest man and the poorest child are all in the same. There's no difference. And I think my opponent is different. He and of course I know him, but a lot of the people who know him have expressed those opinions about him, and so. But at the same time, I guess it's worked for him in whatever capacity it's been. But when you compare his public service as being an elected official, has been serving on boards, and where you meet and you agree with something, you raise your hand. Being a county judge is not about raising your hand. It's about showing up to work at 7:30 in the morning and doing the work for 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day. Of course, you have the meetings once a week where you present what direction the county's going to go, whether it's if it's about let's say healthcare. You don't go and vote on healthcare. The county judge is the one that has to present the problems and bring the solutions through his staff, create solutions, and present them budgetarily to the county commissioners. And then you make it where a good county judge will sell the product, and the commissioners will vote on it. And a lot of times, if you don't have the proper documentation or the proper information, chances are things won't pass. But at the same time, the county judge is one that will present the issue and the problem, but more importantly, will present the right solution to get it resolved. So, and I think that that's probably the biggest. And well, tell you the truth, my experience, 4 years experience as county judge, is probably the biggest difference from between me and my opponent. So
Interesting. You have listed Veterans Affairs as one of your top priorities. Why is this, and what do you hope to accomplish?
well, Nate, the last term that I served as county judge, we knew that the federal government was gonna send some money down to the state for 3 cemeteries and 2 retirement homes for veterans. So what I did is I empowered our veteran community, and I appointed a 25-member board, and we started preparing with statistics, the number of veterans we have during the winter Texan season and when they're not with us. So we put a package together that once the money that came down from the federal government, of course it had to be approved on referendum, which Governor Perry, we lobbied Governor Perry, and Congressman Cuellar was the Secretary of State back then, and it was put on referendum and it was approved by the voters of the state. Well, as soon as it was approved, Hidalgo County's application was the first one in line, and we got funded for the veteran cemetery and the retirement home. Now, is that it for veterans? Absolutely not. There's so many issues that are still, healthcare for veterans is still a big problem. When you have veterans that are having to wait weeks or months for a doctor's appointment, or even after they see a doctor, if they need a biopsy or an MRI or any other type of specialized treatment, it takes months for them to get it. And that's unacceptable. That I had a friend of mine who went with a severe cough, and then one thing after another, by the time he saw the doctor for a biopsy, he had stage 1 or stage 2 cancer. People should not have to suffer or should not have to die because they can't afford to live. Now, that is something that, especially with psychiatric care for veterans, we have 22, well, now they say it's down to 21 or 20 veterans that are committing suicide per day, because of PTSD, because of the Iraqi war and Afghanistan. But then they try to get an appointment to see a psychiatrist, and it takes months. So that to me is unacceptable. We need to work in that. I want to create a voucher program where the county will authorize the treatment and guarantee payment for whatever it is that the veteran needs, and then the county can be reimbursed by the VA when that treatment is approved. If it's 3 months down the line or 4 months, so be it. But at least we know we're taking care of our veterans and their health care. So, have we given up on a veterans hospital? Absolutely not. I won't, because we have way too many veterans who have served proudly. We have Vietnam veterans that are suffering, that are homeless, and we've just done a real poor job. And I'm not talking about us at the county level. I'm talking about the federal government has done a miserable job of taking care of veterans. And I'm a veteran, but it's not a special interest on my behalf. It's because I run into veterans every day, and they all have the same story, and it's not a good one.
So you mentioned you are a veteran. Can you say what that experience was like?
The best experience of my life. I volunteered for the Air Force back in 1970, early part of '74. Actually, I skipped school to go volunteer because I know my parents wouldn't approve of it. So I went, and me and a couple of friends, and we went to San Antonio and got our physicals and took our tests, and I was the only one out of the three that passed. So when I got the letter at home, my dad asked me, he says, well, what's this all about? And I said, Dad, I said, and of course back then there was an all-volunteer. The draft had ended, so I volunteered because I wanted to serve in Vietnam. And I knew my parents couldn't afford to put me through college, so, and I'd heard of the GI Bill, and I said, well, at least I can get my college paid for, and so I volunteered. And there's a story behind that also, where fresh out of tech school, I had orders to go on temporary duty to Vietnam, or actually to Thailand, on Operation Baby Lift, which was a C5 that was extracting 200 Amerasian kids that were children of soldiers. And but I had my orders canceled 2 weeks before we were supposed to report, and the person that replaced me, because that C5 got shot down and landed in a rice paddy, and but the airman, or the aeromedical technician that replaced me, got killed. So it kind of left me. And the reason I found out, because two of the master sergeants that were on the flight were later reported to Kelly Air Force Base, which is where I was assigned afterwards. And when they saw my name tag, they said, Pulido, he said, were you going to be on that 108th Air Vac out of Scott Air Force Base? I said, yes, sir. And he said, well, because they were both master sergeants, and they said, the person that replaced you was one that got killed. So, I guess the Lord was looking out for me as well. So, but if I had to do it all over again, I would absolutely do it all over again. So, and it allowed me to come to the university and get my education afterwards. So.
Focusing more on your background, where did you go to school, and what was that experience like?
I went to school here in Edinburgh, actually, not too far from here. Well, actually, elementary was on the other side of town, and then I went to Edinburgh High School when it was the only high school, and still was for a long time after that, and graduated in 1974. So then came to the university, started coming here in 78, 79, while I was touring with my brother during the weekends, and coming to school at night, and Tuesdays and Thursdays I'd work my schedule to where it worked out for school and for being on tour. So until I graduated in '85, and I was telling Nick that this was one of the. It was probably half the size of what it is now, if not smaller. So this university has come a long ways.
So I assume there was no radio station back then.
Oh no.
So if there was a radio station back then, what do you what song would you request to play?
Oh, Sweet Caroline.
We actually have that on our playlist.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. Getting back to the issues, give me your top 3 priorities.
The top 3 priorities has got to be taxation, or cutting down on taxes, creating jobs, creating enterprise zones for for all our educated kids that are they're getting their degrees, doing what's right for them, and probably health care. Even though I know a lot of people are talking about the courthouse, whether we should construct a new courthouse or not, but that's something that can be dealt with, at the right time. When you talk about the other three, those are ever pressing daily. The taxes, the health care, and people needing jobs. Those affect us every day. So we'll put the courthouse as number 4.
You've done very many great things in your life, held some great positions. Is there anything you see next in your career if you're elected judge?
Actually, what I would love to see, and the greatest thing that I think would be to put this county on the right track and put the right checks and balances, and whether it be constructing the new courthouse, creating the jobs, to where nobody can come in and throw it back off track. And I think we can do that, with the right. But I think it's got to take the right mentality. It's got to take where people's how should I put it? Where people need to start thinking, and I'm not talking about just at the county level. I'm talking about at cities. I'm talking about the school boards. Any taxing bodies need to start caring more about the taxpayers, and start doing what's right, and not what is not what they want to do, but what they need to do. And I think that if we can have more fiscal responsibility at all levels of government, I think is what we need in order for this county to become as prosperous and become have the vitality, and not only the county but the region, to create the vitality that where people are going to want to come and be a part of us, and not passing through, or not we're here for a couple of years, but we've had enough and we're going back home. So,
in what ways will you collaborate with UTRGV?
Actually, and I'm so glad you asked that, Nate, because I was just I visited with the dean of the medical school yesterday, and talking about the future of the medical school. And I think we had about an hour conversation, and I think that we kind of agreed on a path to where the county and the medical school can work towards the common goal of serving the indigents, and at the same time making this university a service provider for healthcare as well. And I know that it's in the infant stages, and I'm talking about the medical school. But I think that there's many great things to come, and not because of me, but I think that, as I told Dean Krause, that it's about partnerships. It's about bringing people to the table and saying, how can we best work towards this goal? And it means the state, it means the county, it means the cities. But more important, it means the medical community. And everybody coming to the same table and saying, okay, guys, this is the way we can do it together. And that's what it's about.
One final question. Why do you think Hidalgo County residents should vote for you?
Because I'm the best that they've got. And I'm talking about between my opponent and I. And I've got the experience. I think I served the county well. When I served as county judge, We built a county jail that had been put on hold for 10 years. We had the State Jail Standards Commission that had been wanting to shut our old county jail down for 10 years. But nobody would take the action that it needed to take to build a new one. And we did that. You know, we built a new juvenile detention facility that from a 10-bed facility or 16-bed facility to a 110-bed facility. We brought the veteran cemetery, the retirement home. We built roads. We initiated the loop for Hidalgo County. And that's kind of been a disappointment, but I think the concept is good. I just think that the leadership or lack of leadership has allowed it to go astray. But I think we can bring that back, bring it back into course. And I think that, you know, we established Hidalgo County as a major player. However, you cannot have a major, we're the 7th largest county in the state of 254 counties. You cannot have a part-time leader leading this county as we've had for the last 15 years and expect for it to improve, to be moving forward, or to be the economic type of the economic machine that it should have been. I think what's very important is that in order to attract industry and attract the right type of business, you need to be able to keep taxes low. You know, you need to be able to create the environment that companies want to come and say, you know what? Why do they go into Mexico? Cheap labor, perhaps, but you know what? We've got great labor here. We've got our people in Hidalgo County will work for you day and night when they're paid fair wages. And I think that the only way that you can do that is if we lower our taxes first of all, and that we create the right infrastructure. You can't create any industry down here if you're not going to be able to get those products out to market quickly. They're not going to come down here. And with the right infrastructure, the right roads, and getting onto the interstate system and up to the market, that helps. That we need to invest in infrastructure, we do. But we need to do it smartly, but at the same time, we need for everybody to work together. And that's what I think that my style of leadership will do that. I like to bring people to the table. I don't want to be the only one at the table dictating. I want to be able to be at the table with other people and share ideas and make it a collective effort of how we're going to get this accomplished. And then with this great university, we can't go wrong. We can't go wrong.
Any final comments? Anyone you'd like to thank before we close up?
Well, I want to thank Mary Gomez. I want to thank Nick for allowing us to be here. I want to thank all the volunteers that are helping in our campaign. Now, that is not it in its entirety, because we have to thank, first of all, God, because without Him, nothing else is possible. God is what makes everything possible for us, putting the right people together to believe in a common message. And if we don't get the right people together, nothing can be done. And I think that as a team leader, which is what I consider myself, because I'm not. I'm just a leader of the team. But without my team, I can't be a leader. And I think that the same with the university. I applaud everyone, as I told the class earlier. everybody from the mayors, from the city council, from the school boards, everybody that is willing to put themselves out there to make things better should be applauded. And nobody should be torn down or criticized because they want to do the right thing. So I think that if we bring that type of mentality back, that we're all in this together and push each other forward, we can't go wrong. So, and I want to thank you. Okay, I want to thank you for your time and for the opportunity and the messages that you all put out, because it's got to be positive. And you know, when everything, like, what's the saying go is when God is with us, who can be against us? And I think we can all move forward.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely, Nate. Thank you.
Have a good day.